Welcome to the Final Whistle, the show that covers UCLan's teams in the BUCS League and competitions. I'm Astros Eggertsdottir and today I'm joined in the studio by Chris Coughlin and James Richardson. It was a busy week for our sports teams and we will start our review of games with some basketball. Karen Gadia was down at Tᴡɪᴛᴛᴇʀ Sports Centre to look at our men's first team.
It was an even encounter when UCLan welcomed Northumbria's second team. UCLan were 2 points behind Northumbria before the game, sitting in fourth place. Both teams started the game off well, netting baskets evenly throughout the first quarter. In the second quarter, UCLan managed to edge into the lead. Northumbria came out strong after half-time, fighting hard to get back into the game, but UCLan were not giving up their lead, securing an important 61-58 victory. With the victory, UCLan managed to catch up with Northumbria on points, but their table minus 149 point difference is holding them below Northumbria in fourth place. With 2 games left of the season and a 9-point gap to the next team below, UCLan are safe to keep their place in the North's top division next year. Karen Gadia reported for PSTV at Tᴡɪᴛᴛᴇʀ Sports Centre.
Great victory there for the men, who are now joint on points with Northumbria in third place. So the men aren't doing too badly at the moment.
No, they're doing pretty well. As you say, they're fourth place only on goal difference, joint on points. They've got a really tough game next week, though, against Salford University, who are top of the league. So that will really theme them for the rest of the season. I think they just need to tighten up their defence and maybe get a couple more points in there.
They are playing in the top league in the North, though, so they aren't doing that bad, considering.
No, I don't think they've had a bad season at all. If you'd have asked them start of the season, I think they'd have said they wanted a solid mid-table finish, and that's what they're going to get by the looks of it. They're 12 points off the top of the table, so likelihood is they're not going to challenge for the title in the last few weeks. But as you say, that game against top of the table could really set them in good stead for next year. Again, if you'd have said to them before the start of the season they'd have finished mid-table with a solid points tally, I think they'd have taken that. I don't think they'll see it as a disappointing season. I think they'll view it as quite productive.
Our rugby union boys put on a good display against Manchester, getting a 31-21 victory. They currently sit third in the table with 4 games to go. So, bit of mixed results there for the rugby union guys, but they aren't doing that bad.
No, they've played some good stuff this season. In that victory the other day, one of the tries they've scored, it was one of the tries of the season. The build-up to it and the finish, it was absolutely magnificent. They are still winning a chance of the title as well. They are a bit behind, but it's still mathematically possible. If they keep winning and results go their way with regards to other teams, we could be seeing a bit more silverware come to UCLan.
Well, it's still mathematically possible. We remain hopeful, don't we?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it's, as you say, it's still mathematically possible. And they've got quite a solid position in the league. They've consolidated their position quite well with 6 points either side of them. So take a pretty drastic defeats in the last few games for them to drop down. But it does mean they need to try that little bit extra harder if they do want to win the title. It's going to be close.
The football girls had a hard day against rivals Lancaster, but came away with a victory. Joseph Richardson reports.
The UCLan women's first team faced rivals Lancaster on a cold winter's day at the UCLan Sports Arena. Coming into the game, UCLan had a 100% winning record, meaning they sat top of the Northern 2A table with their opponents languishing in 5th place. But league positions didn't dictate the early pattern of the game. UCLan dominated possession, but created very few chances, and Lancaster looked the more threatening team. The UCLan girls started to get frustrated at their lack of dominance, with the score remaining 0-0 at the break. The beginning of the second half followed a similar pattern to the first, with Lancaster looking the most likely to score. But against the run of play, it was UCLan who broke the deadlock, with the Lancaster goalkeeper finally beaten. Lancaster were knocked by that goal and failed to muster a recovery, as UCLan took the game by the scruff of the neck. And with 10 minutes left, UCLan sealed victory, with a second after a fumble in front of the goal following a corner. And that was how it finished. The final score, UCLan women's first 2, Lancaster 0, and UCLan have now as good as secured themselves the title. Joseph Richardson for PSTV from the UCLan Sports Arena.
Difficult game there, but the girls managed the result and are looking very good at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, 2-0 against Lancaster, that's brilliant against our rivals. It's always an important game when UCLan play Lancaster. But more than that, actually, they haven't conceded a goal since November, which is amazing. The goalie and her defence have been doing amazing work on the training ground and on the pitch as well to keep so many clean sheets. And it just makes it easier for the rest of the team because, of course, if you don't concede a goal, then you cannot possibly lose.
Exactly. Is there anything that will stop them from claiming the title?
No, I don't think so. I'm pretty confident they are going to win the title. And it's not just the defence where they've been fantastic. Up front, they've been absolutely spectacular. They've got 7 wins from 7. That's maximum points. And they've got a goal difference of plus 31, which for me is worth an extra point, really. It puts that barrier between them and second place. And I just can't see anybody catching them. It would be a major disappointment and a really, really big surprise if they didn't bring home the trophy this year.
Hopefully another piece of silverware in the cabinet. In the men's football, the First suffered a disappointing 3-5 loss at home against Chester. They now sit in third, 3 points behind the team's joint first and second, making for an exciting few weeks ahead. The seconds are top of their table on goal difference after beating Cumbria 5-1. The third team suffered a 2-0 home loss against Keele. They sit in the middle of the table, halfway between first and last place on points. Away from home, the fourths lost out 5-2 to rivals Lancaster, but the fifths secured a 3-0 victory against Burnley and now sit joint with them on top of the table. Now joining us in the studio is Jack Wynne, the SU's hockey correspondent, to talk about the men's first team, who are doing very well at the moment, a point clear at the top of the table after a draw against Chester. So Jack, the guys are doing very well at the moment.
Yes, very well. They've only suffered 1 defeat all this season. That was obviously against Chester at home. They've got the last 3 fixtures are all bottom of the table teams, so you'd say they're probably favourites to win the league this season. I'd be very surprised if they don't walk away with it, to be honest.
They've been out of the cup. Do you think that affected their run in the league?
Yeah, I think that's a positive influence on their performance in the league. Because obviously there's not a fixture clog up of fixtures, so I'd say that probably benefits them in the league.
The second team are quite the opposite. Have not won a game all season. Is there any hope for them?
Yeah, you'd probably think not, to be honest. I mean, like you said, they've been the complete opposite. The performances just haven't gone for them. They're obviously rooted to the bottom of the table, so probably the fortunes aren't going to be the best this season, I'd say.
Do you think there's nothing they can pick up from the first team, like in training and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing in training. You'd like to think there's some sort of lessons being learnt there with how the first team are doing. But the performances this season just haven't shown that. Obviously, they just haven't carried it through the season.
The women aren't doing too well either. They suffered a loss 2-3 against Monmouth. It's just the men that are keeping it, the men's first, that are keeping the hockey teams up this season, isn't it? Yeah,
it looks like it. I mean, the women themselves, they haven't had a good run of performances this season. The fixtures just haven't sort of gone for them. Performances, like the scoring's been hit and miss from game to game. So the men sort of look to be taking the hockey, look to be the favourites for promotion out of the 3 sides.
Thanks to Jack for joining us. To finish up this week's roundup, we'll have a look at the UCLan Rams, the American football team, who remain unbeaten this season after beating Manchester 19-14 at the Sports Arena on Sunday. So the Rams seem to be unbeatable.
Yeah, and this was probably their toughest game of the season so far. I mean, they conceded 14, their highest amount so far, but the important thing is they still came out with that result, and as you say, they're unbeaten. However, in the next 2 games, they're playing the 2 Welsh teams, Aberystwyth and Bangor, Aberystwyth of which are actually also unbeaten, and they play them next week. They can't really be caught by third, so that game should probably be a title decider, so they need to win that game against Aberystwyth to win the title.
A very, very interesting game there on Sunday then.
Definitely. They've just been unstoppable this season, the Rams. Their game against Lancaster a few weeks ago, given how that's a local rivalry, they won 32-6. They were absolutely fantastic in that game. And the game against Aberystwyth, it is the title decider for me. They win that, and it's pretty much impossible for Aberystwyth to catch them up. And the way the lads have been going, I don't think Aberystwyth will stand a chance, to be honest. I think the lads should see it through.
Now that's all we have time for today. Thanks to Chris and James for joining us. It's been a pleasure having them along. I'm Astros Eggertsdottir, and that was the final whistle.